Here's a chance.
Just give me a minute.
They're just outside there.
Yep, don't worry about it. I'll just be a sec.
Hurry, come on.
Hey look, conveniently placed notepad with like a safe combination for the next door neighbors. We gotta go check that out.
What the heck are you doing? Come on, we're gonna miss our chance.
Almost done. Don't rush me. Gotta be something here somewhere.
Come on, they're getting away.
I'm just looking for supplies, man. Give me a minute.
Look, now they're gone. Now what are we gonna do?
Hey gamers, and welcome to another review with me, Shinobi Nando. And today, if I sound down and depressed, it's because we're reviewing The Last of Us 2. I sound like this not because The Last of Us 2 is a bleak, depressing, and very dire game, which it is, but actually because I was thoroughly disappointed with it, and probably not for the reasons you're thinking. At its core, The Last of Us 2 is a character-driven story. It's one of revenge, but it's also one of having the mistakes of our past coming back to haunt our future. And when it comes to characters, this story is phenomenal. Picking up almost exactly where The Last of Us Part 1 ended, we see Joel speaking to his brother Tommy about the events of the first game, with Joel trying to justify his actions to his younger brother. What we have to remember was that The Last of Us Part 1 was definitely a tale of redemption, as Joel was not necessarily a nice person. He and his brother did some absolutely despicable things, but that's another thing that The Last of Us Part 2 does really well. They ask us, in this kind of world, what is good and evil? What would you do to survive? What is wrong and right? This is achieved by the excellent acting in this game. Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson once again knock it out of the park, and a lot of the supporting characters that come through are absolutely phenomenal. The story at its best is when Ellie is interacting with another person, whether it's one of the heartwarming flashbacks that takes us back to the era of the first game, or with one of the new characters contemplating and planning her revenge. However, this is sadly where Naughty Dog kind of jumped the shark. They absolutely miss what makes a revenge story entertaining, and while I get that this is also a human and character study, it's also a game, and a game needs to be fun or at least entertaining. The story has always been dark and dreary in The Last of Us, with only glimmers of hopes or silver linings. And as a series, it has always asked us, who were the real monsters? The infected or us? Spoiler alert, it's us. And that brings me to another point, that this story often tries to subvert your expectations for the sake of subverting expectation to the point where it's almost laughably predictable. We know what should happen, but knowing this is Naughty Dog and Neil Druckmann, we also know what they're probably going to do in order to get another aha, gotcha moment, just like the ending of the first game. Nothing plays out the way it should, and normally that would be a good thing. However, in this case, it becomes tiresome and boring. It becomes predictable in trying to be unpredictable. And towards the end, you start rooting against Ellie, you honestly do. You start really questioning her motives. The bulk of the story is actually more of her getting from A to B in order to maybe get revenge. She doesn't really have a plan. Everything happens by chance or circumstance. It's very, very weird and confusing and at odds with the rest of the tale, as normally characters in revenge tales are quite driven, single-minded, focused. Ellie kind of has a blasé, we'll see what happens kind of approach, which in turn leads to very large sections of us just basically doing nothing. The story does have some good points, and it's at its best when it's two characters interacting with each other. But sadly, again, Naughty Dog made the odd choice of very often leaving Ellie on her own, left to her own thoughts. You'll go hours on end with Ellie just kind of going, huh, ah, or just randomly cursing at something she read on a note. Ellie will pursue someone, get to that person, only for it to be like, oh, too late. Which once or twice is supposed to show you like how hollow revenge is and how it's all-consuming and that you'll never be satisfied. 2 or 3 times, and it actually gets really, really boring and annoying, if I'm perfectly honest. The story and the gameplay also seem very, very detached and often would cause issues amongst themselves, especially with this story's pacing. There were plenty of opportunities for this game to just end on a really high note or even a really low note, but with a message. But no, they had to keep going. Without giving too much away, there's also an opportunity in this game to really resolve one of the outstanding plot points of the series as a whole. And no, because of course not, because subverting expectations. It's actually become something I really began to resent with Naughty Dog. That brings me to the next point where I had a lot of issues, and that's the gameplay. Now, The Last of Us 2 on a technical level is absolutely phenomenal. What a fantastic game. Naughty Dog has taken the best aspects of Uncharted, of the original Last of Us, and merged them. Stealth has never been better, the combat and gunplay has never been better, and they've added new mechanics such as new melee attacks, staggering the enemy, and also a dodge function. You can now go prone or hide in the long grass or under vehicles or under rubble. And now while all those things sound good on paper, they're actually a huge detriment to this game, including another thing they took from Uncharted, which kind of fit there as an adventure game but didn't really work, and definitely don't work here. That's the open world environments. Now, it's not true open world except for one very early chapter, which strangely did kind of work and I did find fun, but a lot of the levels are an A to a B. You can get to A to B with no obstruction whatsoever. However, A to B will be in a large circle of just explorable space. Now, some of these places have your collectibles, have your upgrades, your new weapons, she collects superhero cards or takes drawings, and that's fine. But most of this is just boring, empty space. Revenge anyways is an exhausting experience, and to have it at odds with these large exploration bits just really ruined the pacing for me. It was awful. Not only that, like I said, unlike Uncharted where you're in an adventure setting, so if you're exploring a tomb there might be something cool to find, a treasure, The Last of Us 2 doesn't really have that, other than quickly picking up a trading card of an old comic book series that Ellie likes. There's usually nothing. There are puzzles to solve and stories to find and notes in that, but to get to them is often just such a lengthy and unnecessary and pointless experience. In fact, there's this new safe mechanic in the game. You have to get all these safes and open them up. Those puzzles are actually quite clever and fun. However, the rewards are pointless, often just being caches of ammo and craftable material. But again, that was my other problem. Because so much of the gameplay is copied off Uncharted, including the melee combat, which is now vastly overpowered and just absolutely makes the infected so irrelevant and so easy to deal with, that I constantly had crafting materials. In fact, I'd craft and use items just so I could pick up the cache that I just found. Same with ammo. There were lots of times where the stealth in this game is so fantastic that you could take out 20-30 people without ever being seen. And even if you are, the breaking the line of sight and re-establishing stealth is so easy now that you don't ever have to fire a gun if you want to. Not only that, Ellie seems to take an unusual amount of damage even before you begin to upgrade her with supplements, trivializing all combat whatsoever for me, even on harder difficulties. Even on the harder difficulties, yes, you would start off with less resources and would make scavenging slightly more necessary, but give it an hour or two and you are once again full of supplies. I discussed this with other people and we all confirmed that I'd sometimes have an inch off my health bar and use a health kit because there was another health kit right there on the shelf, and oh, there was a load of materials to craft another one on the same shelf. This made the gameplay so dull and boring and such a slog. Honestly, this game is about 25 hours long. It felt like I played it for 50 or 60. You'd think this kind of game would be linear, where the gameplay is on rails almost, as Ellie should be single-minded in getting to A to B in order to exact a revenge. Even the other characters, your companions in the game, make light of this when you go off and explore, when they're like, hey, that person's over there. It's the reason why I used it in this skit. This kind of gameplay would have much better suited the first game, where Joel is constantly exploring with Ellie, and Ellie is in wonderment and awe of a world she never saw outside of the Boston QZ. That would have made sense. In this one, but, you know, at least it looked and sounded good. This game looks phenomenal. This is some of the best digital acting I've ever seen. The motion capture is amazing. The acting is amazing. The facial animations are on a different level. You could honestly have convinced me that this could have been a PS5 game. And honestly, I can't wait to see the remaster, the inevitable remaster or upgrade of this game. It is phenomenal. Now, while I had problems from a gameplay aspect of the level design in terms of how big and dense they were, filled with nothing, the actual game itself is gorgeous and the environments are amazing. And that was part of the problem. They were so inviting to explore. They look fantastic. Every small little detail, dust on a shelf, magazines on a floor, the fauna, the flora, everything is just phenomenal. One of the best looking games ever. The Last of Us Part 1 was the swan song of the PS3, and this is definitely the swan song of the PS4. One of the coolest things to do is actually to go to the character model viewer and just see for yourself how insanely detailed these characters are, and especially the infected, which there are new ones of that look so phenomenally awesome. Naughty Dog did a brilliant job, and to be honest, in this section alone, I can't fault them whatsoever. I only had 2 graphical glitches. One was because of the whole weird hiding the loading screen thing. When I went into the next screen, one of the arrows I fired and got stuck in a wall that I forgot to pick up was just hanging there, and I had one crash when there was a load of infected. The game sounds just as amazing as it looks, and while the soundtrack is kind of limited, it's still those acoustic guitars, you know, strings plucking. And they actually took that up a level with a little something they added, which is really nice for people that are really into their music, and that is the fact that Ellie, taught from Joel, can now play the guitar. It's actually one of the main points, the story that allows and facilitates a lot of the flashbacks and kind of like more heartwarming moments is when Ellie starts playing this guitar often on her own and flashes back and remembers these heartwarming moments throughout the story and her past.
To say, I'll say it anyway. Today's another day to find you shying away. I'll be coming for you, okay? Take on me. Take
There's actually a lot of clever people that have used these. You can search them up on YouTube to actually play real live songs. That's how good the actual guitar mechanic is in this game. Unfortunately, I'm not musically inclined, so I couldn't do any of that for you, but honestly, please search it yourself. It's actually phenomenal. I've seen people do all kinds of songs. The sound design is also amazing outside of the soundtrack itself. The clickers, while no longer scary, sound horrifying. That is still in there. That is still just as bone-chilling. It's just a shame that the clickers have been severely nerfed by the combat upgrades. Anyways, we're not going to go back into that. There's not a lot more I could say about the sound design. Like I said, the soundtrack, once again, is kind of largely reused. There are some sections where they use, you know, Ashley Johnson and Troy Breaker's amazing singing voices for some of the guitar sections. I don't want to say or show too many of those, just for the sake of saying the audio is great. Guys, it's fantastic. Yeah, I don't want to spoil it. Those are really nice moments in the game. Find them for yourself and see if you can play anything on the guitar. Let me know in the comments. I certainly couldn't. Guys, it breaks my heart to say this. It really, really does. The story is boring Not because by its very nature it's not an interesting tale, it's the way it's told. The gameplay is both fantastic but conflicts with the overall game design. Even the new sections where I didn't really talk about, where you can trick the infected into fighting some of the human enemies for you. You know, you watch it, the AI chase each other, Benny Hill style. It's still kind of like cool the first time, and then dull and boring because you can just go around slaughtering them all yourself. Now I get that this game's purpose is to kind of show us, you know, the grim nature of humanity and violence, and is revenge ever worth it, and what does it cost you? You know, I didn't need this game to be 25 hours long. I didn't need it to have these open world sections that made the revenge tale seem trivial because, hey, I gotta go open that safe, and I gotta go find those cards and collectibles. Now, obviously, the Last of Us 1 had some exploration, and that was cool, but it would be like 1 or 2 houses down a street you had to get down, instead of like 10 to 12 buildings with multiple levels that are filled with nothing. If I wasn't making guides on this game, or trying to review it and give it a second chance, I would not have started New Game Plus. And even New Game Plus on a higher difficulty didn't make it any easier. I thought maybe it would. It's why this review took so long, because I wanted to try to play it again and see if maybe I didn't have the need or the urge or that fear of missing out, or FOMO, of trying to get the collectibles and the upgrades and stuff like that. And maybe if the resources were scarcer and it was harder to come by ammo, I would find the game more challenging and more fun, but I honestly didn't. If anything, it made it worse. It just reinforced some of the points. That the tension is gone, the exploration is still, if not more so, pointless. So in the end, I give The Last of Us a 3 out of 5 on the Gameology score, which would make this like a 6 out of 10, which is mind-boggling for me. I love the Uncharted series. I love the first Last of Us. I don't know what happened here. Maybe Neil really didn't want to do it. Did we get a Dark Knight Rises situation where like they didn't want to do it? Honestly, this game could have been separated in 2 parts, and you'll see what I mean when you play it. It could have been The Last of Us Part 2 and Part 3, honestly. So again, the final verdict for me has to be a 6 out of 10 or a 3 out of 5. It's above average. It's brilliantly made. It's poorly executed. I was so hyped for it. I got the collector's edition. Even amongst all the leaks, I got the collector's edition thinking, no, I'm gonna love this. It's gonna be the swan song of the PS4. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Please, let's have a discussion about this. Join me on Twitter or my Discord. There'll be links down there. Let me know what you thought. I really want to hear your opinions as well. Obviously, again, yeah, this is my opinion. Your mileage may differ. Maybe you loved it. Again, let me know. I hope it was refreshing to hear something different than all the LGBTQ hatred or nonsense about the story being just poorly written and full of plot holes. That's not the case at all, guys. Like I said, I don't have that many problems with the story other than the pacing. And the simple fact it just would not end. There is 1 or 2 minor issues that I can't discuss without doing a spoiler video. Maybe one day I'll do a spoiler review. So please subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell so you get notified when I upload. Anyways, guys, I think this has gone on long-winded enough. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye. Bye.